Today we're going to be talking about the dreaded carom shot. So a lot of people, they just go by their gut, they go by their experience when they shoot this shot. But there is a quantifiable way to measure this out, find an aim point, and then execute the shot. So I'm going to be talking about how you as a player can have that in your bag. Let's do this. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about the carom shot today. It's a shot that a lot of people, like I said, they just use their gut and they go for it. But I say that there is a quantifiable way to measure this out. And if you don't know this, this is going to be good information for you guys. So in this video, I'm going to separate this into kind of two parts to the way I like to attack these shots. Part one is actually finding the contact point on the ball that we're going to carom into. And then part two is, what do I put on the cue ball? Most of the time, you know, when we're caroming, we're in close proximity. Exactly how we're set up here. I call this close proximity. And a lot of times, you're just hitting the center ball. But what if we're way out? That's what I'm going to talk about in part two. But first, let's hit part one. How do we find our contact point in the carom ball? So it's really simple. And I've talked about in other videos. We draw lines. So for example, this is our object ball that we want to carom into off of this ball. So just draw the line from the 9 ball through all the way until you hit the carom ball. See where my finger is? That line extends and stops right here. That is your contact point. Now, this is important. We are dealing with spheres here, right? So when you aim for this contact point that we just measured out with a line, you have to make sure that you kind of ignore where you're going to be hitting up here, right? Just let that 2 ball vanish and just aim for that spot. And that's just going to take practice, right? And that's you getting to the table and figuring out how to do that. So we found our contact point. Once we found our contact point, that's the spot that we're going to be aiming for. So we head over, we chalk, and we shoot, okay? That's part one. Part two is, I like to separate the table into thirds. So for example, you know, this is the first third. The middle section here is the second third. And then this is the third third, right? When you're in section 1, I most of the time don't put any juice, any sort of English on the cue ball. I'll just hit center ball, right? I'll find my aim point, I'll aim towards that aim point, and I'll hit it center ball. There's not much action that has to happen. When I'm in part two, the second section of this table, I hit with just a little bit, and I'm talking just a little bit of draw, just to try to correct it, because my carom ball, it's moving quite a bit of ways. And I find that once it's moved a ways like that, I have to put a little bit of bottom. If the ball that I'm caroming into is way in section 3, I am putting bottom on this ball to get the cue ball to come over, right? The one thing that stays constant the whole time is that the aim point, the contact point that we measure to, it's not changing, okay? We're gonna shoot through that contact point. The only thing for me, and this is how I grapple with it, is I've got my parts of the table, and that dictates on how much bottom I'm going to put on it. Again, section 1, no bottom. Section 2, just a smidgen, a little bit, nice stroke. Section 3, I'm putting bottom to get that cue ball over to come into that ball. Okay, so let's do some examples. So for example, we are in section 1 here, right? Our 2 ball is there. We measure our line from the 9 back to the 2, and I get a point just on that side of the 2, right? We found our point. So I am going to aim at that point, and I am going to just shoot through center ball. And you make the shot. Have balls here. Practice. Just set them up. Remember, stay into stage one, right? Section one is this part of the table. Again, find your contact point, aim through. Scratch it, right? Hopefully you don't scratch. I'm hitting it actually to the point where it's hitting, coming into the four perfectly, and I'm scratching. Again, find your spot and come through. No juice, okay? Section one is pretty darn easy, right? The carom is natural. I'm not having to put anything on it, okay? I'm just hitting center ball there. But now, what happens when you've got an object ball, and the ball that we're caroming into is in what I call section two, right? That's quite a bit of ways. If I don't put any bottom on this, if I just hit center ball again, I'm not going to make it. It's not going to be enough. So I draw my line from the 8 all the way to the 13, and I see that the point that I need to be aiming for, and I'm just going to hit center ball and watch. I will miss. Not even close, right? This is where I find you have to put a smidgen of bottom on. So for example, I find my spot and I'm just going to find my spot, and I'm just going to put a smidgen of bottom. And I'm going to stroke a good nice stroke. And it goes in. Okay? Start here like I've started. Start in section one and then move your way over. See how you have to adjust to make that shot, right? In section two here, I just showed you, I put a smidgen of bottom. Stage three can be the hardest, right? The ball that we're caroming into, it's so far away from here. A lot of things can go wrong, but our system is sound, okay? It just takes you to go to the table and practice. This is very missable. I don't know when you'd want to do the shot in a game, but at least you know how to execute the shot. So for example, draw your line, find your contact point, and for this shot, I am juicing back. And it gets me to the area, right? Like I said, a lot can go wrong. Finding my spot, and I'm juicing back. Just like that. So, do that sort of stuff. Start easy, okay? Here, that's easy, okay? Start easy. Then start moving it out and practicing, seeing how much you have to adjust, right? I use the thirds system that I developed. You might develop something else. Maybe you like to cut it into fours, who knows? Develop your own system. I just like to use thirds, and that's how I measure how much more juice I have to put on it. Obviously, the further I go away from the ball I'm coming into, the more juice, more bottom I'm putting on the cue ball, okay? Once you've done all your practicing here, and you know, you've moved your carom ball out further, and you've tried your caroms, start setting up some wild ones. You know what I mean? For example, maybe you have a ball down here, maybe you're way over here, right? Is it possible to shoot that? Well, it is possible. Okay, so we're hooked on our 7. Let's say we wanted to do a carom. Draw our line. Our line is right there. So that's the line we're going to aim for. Because I'm in section 3, I'm going to be putting quite a bit of bottom on it. Hey! Scratch. You get my point? It's another quantifiable way for you to figure out how to carom. It's another quantifiable way to measure something out for a shot that a lot of people, they just go by their gut. Like I said, they just go by their feeling, they go by their experience. We have a way to measure this out, right? But like I said again, you have to go to the table. So again, my suggestion is set it up down here, set something up, start easy, okay? Repeat it. You know, get that muscle memory, get it locked into your head, the system. Then make it incrementally harder, okay? Move it away, try it. How much do you have to adjust? How much sauce you put on that cue ball? Further away. And then start doing some wild ones, okay? I don't recommend doing shots like that in a game, but sometimes, depending on the situation, you just may not have a choice. And at least, like I said, you got it in your bag, you can pull it out, and then, you know, maybe you look like a rock star. Who knows? You're a killer though, you're a killer. So that's everything I have. Go to the table, practice it. If you like this video, please hit like. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip side. See ya.